Yes. The finest podcast with the worst music. It is the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Louie, Rabaut, Steve Kornacki hanging out with you on a Risen Star edition of the program. We head to New Orleans for the weekend, Steve. Is there anywhere in your mind, what are like the legitimately unique American cities? And I think New Orleans is on that list for sure. What else is on that list for Steve Kornacki? Good afternoon.
Yeah, New Orleans should make that list. Boy, that's a good question. What's like a quintessentially American? I got like a Northeast bias, something like Worcester, Mass is a good one, I think,
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I think of two, like just towns like Detroit could only happen in the United States. You know what I mean? Like that's a place that could only happen in America. I also think of spots like San Antonio's a really interesting one, but I think it only happen in the United States, that kind of stuff for sure. New Orleans, one of those spots for sure.
I'll tell you, I'm wearing the Nevada, Reno, Nevada, the biggest little city,
That's a good one too. Atlantic City. We would have put on that list many years ago, but he's Steve Kornacki, NBC Sports. Wanted to get him in as part of our Derby Trail coverage here. I think, Steve, last time you and I did a Derby prep episode, Cripes was for the Wood Memorial last year, the 100th Wood last year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There at Aqueduct. Been a minute. You're watching this Derby Trail alongside the rest of us. What have you made so far? Do you have a top three or so that you're watching at this point? And hey, maybe it's one run on the Saturday.
Yeah, no, I think big question, I think, about the Risen Star on Saturday. I think two in there in particular who, depending on how Saturday goes, I think could be at or near the top of the list. Paladin, obviously, I think one of them there. Golden Tempo to me, the other one. But we'll see what happens. The whole thing feels real wide open to me. I think it usually does this time of year, but take Ted Nafi out of it. I think it's a little more wide open. The one that Renegade visually has impressed me the most. I just don't know what he beat in that Tampa race last week.
Right.
What I really liked was Silent Tactic, the Mark Cassie's horse at Oaklawn, just coming from way out of it. It didn't seem like it was a pace meltdown scenario, and actually had done some decent closing with no pace in the Smarty Jones there at the start of the year too. So I'm kind of taken with Silent Tactic now, but I think we got a lot we still got to see.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I got my first Derby credential, it was for Justify, and that Derby, at least 2018. And Steve, back then, I think we used to look, I've always wondered this. Do we now, because Silent Tactic a couple of years ago, I think we would have just said, well, I mean, coming from the back of the pace, they don't do that in the Derby, right? That's not something we do in the Kentucky. And then Baffert's out of it for 3 years. Rich Strike wins. We get Sovereignty from near the back of the pack. Is there just a shift that's kind of happened where we're looking at those horses and assuming they win because, number one, they do, but also we didn't have Baffert. I had to laugh, Steve, when someone the other day said something like, oh yeah, we just don't get front runners in the Derby anymore. And I'm like, well, like Rodriguez was hurt last year and Baffert wasn't in one of these for 3 years. And so that's kind of a standout to me. Is there any part of that rings true for you?
I think it is. I mean, I think they went to that point system in 2013, and a lot of people said, look, that took the sprinters, the pure sprinters out of it. That made it more manageable for front runners. And I think that held up from about 13 to 21. But they've been coming from farther back since then. Rich Strike, the most dramatic example, but I think it's been going quicker up front. Even, in 24, the Mystic Dan year, they went real fast, early in that race too. So I think to me, the last 4 or 5 years, it's kind of reverting to, I think what we knew before the point system.
So you like Silent Tactic. Who's running this weekend that you've got your eye on? You can certainly come back to when we get to the handicapping section, but I know Paladin coming out of that Remsen. Boy, that Remsen, Steve, lately has been such an important race on the trail, frankly, a little bit more important than even the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at this point in our Derby prep history, at least. Is Paladin one of those horses for you?
Yeah, Paladin right now is sort of top of the list, especially given what Renegade, who Paladin had run against there, twice in New York, did, at Tampa. I'm saying looked so impressive. I'm not sure who Renegade beat, but if Paladin, Renegade and Paladin sort of neck and neck there in New York, if Paladin goes down to the Fair Grounds now and sort of looks the part here, I think both of them, kind of go to the top of my list, for right now. And Golden Tempo, I'm just very curious about, because I think the win in the Lecomte was impressive. I kind of think the way Golden Tempo won the Lecomte, coming from way out of it, I sort of feel like my impression of that day was it was a tough day maybe to be a closer, a tougher day to be a closer there at the fairgrounds. And so I'm in my mind, I'm like, that might have been more impressive than it seemed, but I think Saturday will tell us more about that.
Yeah, even more impressive that way. If it was a track bias that way, it'd be like a horse winning outside at Aqueduct right now. My God, the rail there. People, it's unbelievable. I rarely say this, but I think they actually have to do something. Like I think I think the stewards there have to actually go ahead and change it up. So who would you have number one? If someone asked you to put out a top poll for Derby contenders, who would you have on top?
I mean, right now I would put Renegade at the top, but that's a very, very soft, tentative, qualified feeling.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, Steve Kornacki with us, NBC Sports. Have you gotten to do any of these trips? Were you at the Pegasus, anything like that?
Got to go to the Super Bowl, so I'll take that one as my win for NBC Sports. So,
how was that?
That's incredible. I mean, I'm a Patriots fan, so that part of it kind of stunk, but everything else, just a real cool experience. And
yeah.
Also, it was like,
it was what? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I'm in New York where it was like 10 below zero, and so I get to go and it's 70 degrees. So there was that too.
That is a good part for sure. As a Lions fan, Steve, I felt bad for you Pats fans who hadn't been to a Super Bowl in 6 years. I mean, that's got to be a brutal amount of time to wait to go to a Super Bowl. Just a tough thing to be a Patriots fan.
I said it stinks for New England. I know the rest of the country enjoyed it, so I won't fight that.
It's interesting. I didn't have a true rooting interest except that Kenneth Walker played 1 year at Michigan State. That's where I went to college. So, you do those things. You kind of glom onto whoever's having success that happens to have anything in common with you. So there you go. But Steve Kornacki with us. Let's get into this late pick 5 down there at Fairgrounds. You are a multi-race player, Steve. When you look at this series, though, and we'll put up your ticket later on in the show, man, you and I have this in common. We love a good pick 3. When you play those pick 3, Steve, when you're looking at them, what are you looking for in particular?
Looking for, I like the idea of having a shorter price and then liking in the other 2 legs, thinking there's an opportunity to get some, longer shot and get a price. And so that's the one I sent you along. I guess we'll talk about it in a little bit. It's sort of a sandwich there with a short price in the middle and then 2 legs that I think where I think you could get a good price. So, I love playing those pick 3s. I love, pick 3, pick 4, pick 5. Honestly, those are my favorite bets to make.
All right, so I don't appreciate this from a rival podcast on the wrong lead. Kornacki's a Pats fan. Never meet your heroes. Hey, I've met Steve Kornacki, and while he's not a hero of mine, he's a fine gentleman. And you know what? If you're from Boston, you can't really help it. There's, speaking of American cities and things that only could exist in America, boy, oh boy, Boston is way near the top of that list as well, Steve.
Can I tell you, like, I'll show my age here. I tell people this, like, they don't believe me at a certain age under 40 or so. The Patriots barely qualified as an NFL franchise when I was growing. I know we're never going to, we've got more riches than anyone deserves in life, but they played in front of 15,000 fans when I was a kid, and they were 1 in 15. So, it's, we deserved some of it. Some of it.
I went to grad school in Indiana. We finally got a championship out of something, and it happened to be on the football side. I'll just take whatever they got, right? It's that sort of thing for sure. All right, well, let's get into that late pick 5. The Stall Memorial is race 8 here, Steve. We're on the grass for this one. This tends to be a great race every single year as part of this card, Steve, and we get a nice field in here, including the second-time fairground starter in Maduro, part of a Peter Urton string that we're seeing more and more east of the Rockies, Steve. We talked about him last week on another program running horses, frankly, at Tampa, which is pretty remarkable to think about as well. He's going to come in 9-5. I do think he'll be favored here. Is he a deserving favorite?
I think based on that last race, yes. I'm going to use, I'll use Maduro in my pick 5 ticket. But I think there's some other ways to go in this. The top pick for me is going to be number 4, Expensive Queen. What I like here is just I think I see some upside. This is only going to be the 3rd time since coming to North America that the horse has run on the turf. It's the first time since last spring in a Grade 1 at Santa Anita. The first time in North America last spring at Keeneland. I think there was some trouble in the trip, some traffic, super wide coming off the turn, and just kind of inhaled the field in the stretch. And then in that, Grade 1 at Santa Anita, that was Be Your Best, who just, was a gate to wire, wasn't coming back. So take from that what you will. Had sort of a tune-up, I guess you could say, on Synth, at Gulfstream in January. And Brendan Walsh, I think there could be some upside here. So, the 4 is going to be my top pick here. But yeah, no, I respect Maduro, Jose Ortiz, that rail could be useful. I'll include. But the 4 is where I'm going to go for my top pick.
You have the 330 in your handicapping and Sweet Treasure here. Florent Giroux making the trips back and forth between LA and Fair Grounds at this point. Does get the win aboard Plutarch in a what I think was not an unmeaningful Robert B. Lewis, but is aboard the sixth place finisher, the Cranston Memorial last time out. You have this 130 in your handicapping. Why do you have that?
Because I think that there's a bit of an asterisk in that last trip. Trouble, kind of getting out of the gate, trouble early. That I think, the horse tends to be more forward, has tended to be more forward and done its best running there. And was, I think, just sort of off its game from the break in that race. And so I almost say, give it another shot, try to, I think, maybe, break better, get in it earlier, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, oversubscribed is in here. A little bit of time off, but Chad Brown bringing horses off the layoff and teaming up with Tyler Gaffalione seems to make a lot of sense in here for me as well. I laid it on the 4 as well, Steve. It's interesting that you went there in the same way, but I do think it's set up. He's on a bunch of horses that are between about 4 and 6 to 1 in Louis Saez, and I think he's going to be I think there's a potential he's a real problem on Saturday, and so I agree with you in that spot. Move on to race 9, start of the late pick 4, grade 3 Mineshaft here. Of course, this is for older horses. We are going a mile and a 16th, $250,000 on the line. We see the return in this one of Hit Show, trying to get another graded stakes under his belt. Steve also gets Lasix. That's a pretty rare opportunity for him. Did win last time on Lasix in the West Virginia Governor's Cup there at Mountaineer. What do you make of his chances, and who do you have on top here?
Yeah. I mean, look, I was looking to be creative. Hit Show is where I'm going to, mainly go here. I just think I think the horse is the best, and coming down, to a grade 3. I think a pretty consistent horse. I have some hesitation about doing it. The only other one that I want to include here a little bit is the outside horse, Stowaway. I think it was the number 7 there.
Yep.
An older horse who they just, was off for a long time. They put on dirt over the summer. I think has run 4 times on dirt. The buyer's gotten better every time. Just lost here at Fair Grounds to Not This Boy, who ran like dead even at Mountaineer with Hit Show over the summer. So I sort of think there might be a little bit. I kind of like the outside draw there. I wanted to include, but mainly Hit Show is going to be my play here.
Yeah, I have Accelerize on my ticket as well, the 2 horse here, Steve, just because of what I saw in the Louisiana, that front running, thing, if a horse is willing to go and do that, because I think he and Hit Show are going to be near the front together. I think there's, an opportunity for him to probably just inherit the lead. I think Duke of Duval is going to try to go with them. Louis Saez gets them out on him, the 1 horse in this field for Steve Asmussen. And so for me, I think Accelerize, who's just tried the 2 turns for the first time last out, before that was running over that 1-turn mile at Gulfstream. I think he takes a step forward, Steve, going 2 turns here. Only question is, does have to carry another 6 pounds. That is not a small thing for the first time. He's up to 124, but hey, you don't only carry that amount, Steve, if you qualify to carry that amount. I'll take the grade 3 winner as part of my tickets here too. This one, I think, and I'd love to know if you agree, I think you either have to press Hit Show or use some other horses in here that aren't Hit Show. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, and look at me. There's going to be a lot of tickets here. I say I do these pick 3. I'll single in a lot. In the pick 5, I just want to include, it's sort of like an A-B thing. I want to include Stowaway just on the chance, maybe it heats up a little bit, kind of, sits off a little bit there on the outside. So I'm not going to purely single Hit Show, but most is going to run through Hit Show for me on this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense for sure. I think too much of the evidence around him and what they're trying to set up just makes sense for Hit Show to run in a just big time here. They clearly want this win, another graded stakes for him. Move on to the late pick 3, race 10 starts there. Grade 3 Fairgrounds here, Steve, is back on the turf. We're going 9 furlongs, mile and an eighth for 4 and up, 175 on the line here. And an interesting group here, Steve. This is your spread leg amongst the later part of the card. 10 horses here, including a Laganos who didn't win last, hasn't won in a while, but boy, could certainly get it done here, or in a Gate Road on the outside that we've seen run in really, really big spots before. Where did you land here in the Fairgrounds?
Yeah, no, like you said, this is where I really kind of want to take a shot to get some kind of a price here. So, I don't want to use Laganos. I'll say I don't like that outside post. I think he just misses a lot too. You got Brilliant Birdie in here. I'm kind of curious what the odds will be on Brilliant Birdie. I think going a little longer maybe than might be, his game. So I kind of want to go against him there. I'm going to go against Capuna too, even though he has looked so good on turf and did in the last one. The top choice I'm going to use here, and this is a horse who's either I think going to finish first or last, is I'd Rather Be Blessed, the 8, and this is a horse who has now stolen 2 of these stakes at Fairgrounds at obscene odds. 86 to 1 last year, and I think 17 to 1 late last year, something like that. I actually liked him in the what's the Colonel Bradley. That's the
Yep.
The sort of precursor to this one.
Yep.
The horse was a mess that day. It fractious in the gate. Just never got the lead. And that's it. He has to get the lead. He has to have a manageable pace. So I'm going to take a chance that I think will be a pretty big price. He could get the lead here this time. And maybe I'm looking around, maybe not pressed that intensely, and again delivers at a big price. So I'll make him my top choice. But the other ones that I want to use here just quickly are like number 5 Cameo Performance, who just kind of waiting for him to put it all together. Maybe he can. I like Ben Curtis. Montador, first time as a the first time as a 4-year-old, kind of going against older here, who I've liked a lot and I think has a lot of sort of upside potential. So, sort of the 5, 6, and the 8 here are kind of my main choices. A little interested in that Sandpipes on the inside too, but the idea to get a price.
We'll go ahead and put this up here. So for every $1 increment on Steve's pick 3, it's $4. So pretty straightforward here, Steve. If someone, whatever their budget is, if they wanted to follow along here, the 2 singles and the 2 legs, this is exactly what you talked about. If you like a horse with shorter odds, go ahead and just take a stand and use them, but try to find that value in the other race. And obviously you're going to try to do that right here in the Fairgrounds.
Yeah, there it is. Maybe get 4 to 1 or something, 5 to 1 in the first leg, even money maybe on Hit Show. And then,
hopefully we hit one of those, who was it? Rather Be Blessed. Yeah. Hopefully that's the horse that comes through for you in the last leg of exactly that one. I saw this race pretty similarly, Steve, to your notes here. I'm going to try to be really aggressive here and just use Montador. And this is where I'm going to try to be just a little bit different, a little bit more of a push because that 6 to 1 kind of single, I think, can be the thing that really opens up a ticket for you. And so I trust that form last out. Michael Stidham does a really good job off of these kinds of layoffs. Tyler's in town to ride this day. And this is a horse that every time he's been on Lasix, he's either been second or first. That's it. And he gets to keep Lasix here. 3 for 6 last year after losing his first race. He was DQ'd in his second race. And so frankly, that's not even on his win list. If that's on it, he's 4 for 6. I think he's just a winner. And I'll go ahead and take the Son of Nyquist on the grass as my late single in the sequence here at Fairgrounds. Move on to the late double, the 2 preps here for the Oaks and the Derby. The Rachel Alexandra, of course, named for Rachel Alexandra, will be race 11, 8.5 furlongs, a mile and a 16th on the dirt there. $300,000 on the line in the grade 2. Steve, we get the return of Bella Ballerina, who, of course, all of the pretty mischievous comparisons. And Brendan Walsh quoted this week as saying, I don't know why she can't be as good as her. Well, they're all trying to be as good as the horse that this race is named after, Rachel Alexandra, Horse of the Year. Of course, in 2009, the winner of the Haskell, the Woodward, the Mother Goose, the Kentucky Oaks, the Fantasy, the Fairgrounds Oaks, the Martha Washington, the Goldenrod, before that, and something called the Preakness. So there you go. Not a bad 2009 for her, Steve. Do you think you would have voted her Horse of the Year? I'm sure I would have for sure if I had a
it would have been a tough call, huh?
Try to figure that one out. Where'd you land in this one? Did you land on Bella?
No, although this is a race I don't have a high degree of confidence in, and I'm going to use, I'll use her in the horizontals. Where I ended up landing for the top pick, though, is like something that I when I first looked at the race, I said, this is the one horse I don't want anything to do with. And I ended up landing on the horse. And that's the number 5, Powered by Family. Coming in just off the maiden win. It was a rained off the turf race. But a couple things that I like here besides, and there's a gaudy speed figure. Usually I would look at a lot of these things and say beat nothing. Visually that win to me was so impressive. And it came after, when you look at that first race that the horse ran last fall at Churchill, a 1-turn race at Churchill, She basically spotted the field 5 lengths coming out of the gate, had just a terrible trip, and for a minute there, kind of loomed huge. As they came into the stretch. And so I sort of thought for a first outing, that was actually pretty encouraging. Looked like a horse that wanted to go farther, got the chance to go farther again under, maybe some modest circumstances, but like did everything you could possibly ask for in that race, that last out, that 2-turn race here at Fairgrounds. And I just think, just the horse kind of, to me, looks like a horse that's going to, run all day and certainly seem like it in that race. So I thought maybe this is a bit open here. Maybe you get a bit of a price. I see 9-2. I'm not quite sure what to expect, but that's going to be my top choice here.
Interesting. Step forward. You have done this to me before where I see a horse run in the mud and I'm like, I don't know how they're going to come back. And then Ceiling Crusher wins the cotillion of all things. And so you've done this to me before, Steve. It's interesting her numbers though, because I went back and looked for the exact same reason that you just brought up. She ran on one of the Stars of Tomorrow cards at Churchill Downs in one of the main races on that 7 furlong. And you're right. There's even a note in the past performances that she was tough to load. And I went back and watched that replay. And it's, you get used to like the 2-minute and 25-second sort of replays. That one's like 245, 250 because of her. She needed a lot of work that first time, seems to have calmed down quite a bit in that last start. So it's an interesting one. The 5 on top. You have Just Singing in the second spot here. And Ken Sweezy, who's a trainer I really like, and I would love to get a horse at this level. Just Singing comes out of that goldenrod, and boy, she was flying at the end right behind Bella Ballerina.
That was it. It's sort of similar to, I sort of feel like between Powered by Family and Just Singing, to take a shot that one of those two is going to have a close like that. And again, in that big stretch of Fairgrounds, I want to have them both.
Yeah, I think of all of the horses here, and I wanted to ask you this as I was going through the pick 5, trying to pick out this spot. I always try to figure out the horse you have to beat to get the best payout, right? In that sequence. Do you think it's going to be more Bella Ballerina or Hit Show in this sequence?
My guess is Hit Show, just based on that resume. That's how I was thinking about it. But the next race might have a very, very short one too. So
yeah. There's so many interesting horses in here as well, Steve, that I think, are ones that we're going to have to watch moving forward. Love Your Neighbor picks up Louie Saez. When I talk about him being on 4 to 6 to 1 kind of horses, this is one of those 6 to 1 horses. And I'm not putting down Axel Concepcion, but if I could have Louie Saez or Axel Concepcion, the world gives me very simple choices like that. I'm taking Louie Saez, and that's a horse that's only missed by a head, by a neck, etc. I think that's one that could really take Louie Saez's, little bit of leaning into, and I think she'll be able to get up in this spot as well. So I think Love Your Neighbor's got a real shot here too.
Yeah, I mean, watch that be the one that blows everything up for me. Ultimately, I saw blinkers going on, and I looked. I said a lot when you get past 5 races,
a lot of changes,
a lot of near misses, a lot of change ups, and I sort of felt like But watch that be the one. I'm sure it will be.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's how the world goes. He's Steve Kornacki, NBC Sports. I'm Louie Rabaut. This is the Horse Racing Happy Hour. We're hanging out ahead of the Risen Star, which is the closer. Race 12 on the card there in Louisiana. Grade 2, of course, and a bunch of money. $500,000 on the line here. 1 1/8 there, Steve. That long fairground stretch, as John Dooley likes to say. Let's go ahead. There's only 8 horses here. We'll go quickly through the field. Universal Break from the 1. Chris Elliott down. A guy that got, I think, probably 3rd place votes from us for champion apprentice jock last year, but was in the Smarty Jones last time at Oaklawn Park. And I'll be honest, Steve, with the weather and the different things, if a horse didn't like Oaklawn this year, I've decided mentally I'm not going to try to hold it against them, because he was really good in the Jockey Club right before that. We've seen these McPeak horses. He runs his horses. He doesn't train them to run. He runs them to be in shape. And so do you think he's got a shot here? Because I absolutely do.
Yeah, yes, I think he does, and especially because of what you just said, McPeak, and I just feel this is McPeak always has these horses that just pop up even when I'm not fully expecting it, and I'm not really going to be using him, to be honest. So if he beats me, he beats me. But with McPeak has beaten me more than enough. So
that's exactly right. Golden Tempo, the 2 here, you brought him up earlier. All the best to everyone betting against Cherie DeVoe at Fairgrounds right now. What do you like about him?
Yeah, I mean, I said that close in the Lecomte when I you look back at that card, that day. I think there were 2 8-1 gate to wire winners. There was a 7-1 gate to wire winner. I don't know Fairgrounds well enough to really be attuned to biases, but I was just looking at it. It seemed to me that something about the track was carrying speed that day. And so to have that kind of a close on what I think might have been that kind of a day got me, I'm very curious about Golden Tempo. Now it's not going to be, I'm not going to go there in this race because we'll get to it, but that's a horse where if something like we saw in the Lecomte happens again here, that conversation we had at the start of the show about who's, at near the top of my Derby list would change, and Golden Tempo would enter into that.
Jose Ortiz hitting at 34% right now in his first 50 mounts with Cherie DeVoe at the Fairgrounds. Carson Street will break from the 3 Ben Curtis rides for Brendan Walsh here. Another son of Street Sense in this spot. Was third in that Lecomte, had the lead briefly in the stretch there as part of that sort of furious finish with Mesquite and Carson Street. I think 8-1's more than fair on him in this race.
Yeah, I took a long look here. I thought about this for a long time, and I sort of just kind of decided, that was the race to do it, the Lecomte. Drifted a bit in the stretcher, but I sort of felt that was the day,
Okay. Yep. Did win in the slot before that, but on Lasix, but Ben Curtis was aboard. He'll get the ride here in the Risen Star. The favorite will be Paladin. He comes out of the Remsen. He won that by 2 lengths over Renegade, who all Renegade did was come back and win his first race this year. A son of Gunrunner, and boy, he looks like his dad, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, this is I'm mainly going here in this race, and again, this is the price here is going to be. I see 8-5. It's probably going to be in my mind, less than that. But I just essentially a 2-for-2 horse. The DQ in the first race, Renegade. Right there with each time coming back. Looking so impressive. At Tampa last week, and I just kind of feel like the horse looks like he's going to be pretty forward. We know he can handle the distance, and I don't think there's going to be a ton of speed in here, and may just kind of obliterate him.
Paladin, the same ownership group as Sierra Leone, who was a $2.3 million purchase. Paladin, a $1.9 million purchase just this last August in 2024. Chip Honcho, a fascinating horse. They're taking the blinkers off. Is the Asmussen team. Another 6-1 ride for Luis Saez here. This one was another one in that furious finish in the Lecomte, Steve. People like Chip Honcho. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's almost like an early buzz horse on the Derby trail. What do you make of Chip Honcho here?
I like Chip Honcho too.
Sure.
Again, for the reasons we've been saying, I'm not gonna take him. I liked him in the Lecomte. I had him in the Lecomte. I'm not sure. I think he might ultimately be a horse that doesn't want to go that long, but so I'm not gonna go with him here. I feel a bit the same there, as Carson Street. Maybe had the chance there in the Lecomte.
Colt 47, 20-1 on the morning line for Keith DeZormo, who's actually off to a spectacular start this meet down there at Fairgrounds. Has been really good out west as well. Jimmy Graham gets them out here. I'm interested in this one to see if this horse can run fourth. What do you think, Steve?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, the breeding makes sense for him to fit in here, right? Bolt Doro, we get Pioneer of the Nile on the damn side, like all that stuff makes sense. He just hasn't done it yet, and certainly he's been running in lower company as well. I would actually put him as the most likely to scratch out of this race. I think that would be the other part.
Yeah, that also makes sense.
Man, Steve, I got to tell you. So I forget when this was. It was probably about 6 months ago. Frank Angst, who's our editor of Blood Horse, nice guy, and he something had happened, but he landed on a box at Churchill Downs on a Sunday or something. He said, "Hey, can you come bring one of your kids? We'll hang out, blah, blah, blah." So we go. The box next to us was putting in $5 a race each person for the first horse to come back after the race. And it was hilarious watching these people next to us. So if you ever need a game to play with your buddies, where it's like it's like $50 for the whole day, right? And if you hit it once, you get all your money back. It's a spectacular. My son was watching them more than he was watching the races. He got that.
That'll work at Saratoga this summer. That's a good one. Yeah,
that's a really good one. That's exactly right. Corning will break from the 7, and boy, you talk about. I mean, Steve, this is how much of a favorite Paladin is, that a horse of this quality is going to be at least 5-1 in this race. Comes out of that Remsen as well in 4th place in that one. Steve, he almost reminds me at this point of his development. Do you remember Domestic Product ran 7th in the Remsen and then came back, was really good in the Tampa series? He kind of reminds me of being in that sort of spot right now. Great connections, great breeding, Curlin, of course, and then Bernardini, Mare. I mean, you couldn't ask for Derby. I mean, goodness gracious, maybe, I don't know, maybe Belmont, I don't know. But I mean, like that's as good as it gets as far as going 2 turns on the dirt, at least. What do you make of his chances here? The layoff, a little bit of a question, but boy, we're not questioning it for Paladin.
Yeah, and he was a bargain for them too, right? They only paid $5 million.
More bargains. Throw the blinkers on though. Here, I think is pretty interesting. They want him closer. They want him to run like he did at Aqueduct, I think. Yeah,
that's it. This is the other horse I am going to use here, hoping that, and again, I have no idea what to expect in terms of the price on this. Seeing 6-1, 6-1, seems more than you're going to get. But whatever it is, if the horse actually starts to realize the potential that's there for that breeding and for that price, whatever the price is, will end up looking like a steal if the horse actually runs to it. The blinkers is the variable to me. Maybe that's going to change things. I was listening to I'm going to want to credit. I was listening to somebody who knows what they're talking about, and I can't remember the name now, who was saying that the workouts, and I don't know how to watch workouts, but was saying the workouts look super impressive with the blinkers on.
right.
So I'm starting to think, from that outside post with the this is a full sibling to Clairiere. I think if you're getting 4-1, 5-1, something like that here, and the blinkers make the difference, I'll want to have that on my ticket. So this is the other one I'm using.
Got it. Quality Mischief from the outside is one that I'm fascinated in. Florent Giroux back in town. Brad throws him aboard. That makes me think they're going to try to be closer in this one than they have been in the past. This one did break its maiden at Horseshoe Indianapolis in a race that was taken off the turf. So obviously they had turf ideas for this one. I asked Brad about this horse before ahead of the Gun Runner, or maybe I was at a little comp to Steve, and I asked him, like, oh, did you run this one on the turf because you need it? He's like, no, it was just a condition this one fit into it. So it's not as though he wanted this one on the turf all the time. It's just when you have as many good 3-year-olds as he did, or a 2-year-old in this case, in August, you just go where you can, right? Essentially was what he was telling me. And so tried the turf, didn't work, stayed in the condition. The next time, washed off, horse immediately wins, and then is really close in the Gun Runner. I'm fascinated by him. Obviously, if you want a Derby winner, Quality Road on the dam side, Into Mischief on the sire side works really well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like sort of the outside post there, drawn outside of everybody. But to me, it'll be the kind of horse. Look, if I'm doing something with tries or something, I'll be using. But I'm gonna make my stand on the New York transplants.
So, Steve, your top in this race are 4 and 7. So that, of course, is Paladin and Courting. If you had a third horse to fill out that trifecta, where do you think you'd go?
I would put Chip Honcho in.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I think there's a chance Louie Size really upsets the apple cart on Saturday down there at Fair Grounds. I think it's just one of those things. Well, Steve, I appreciate it very much. What's your next big project here now that you're back from the Super Bowl?
Well, we got election stuff coming up here. The start of midterm primary season in a couple weeks. So we're getting ready for the Texas primary on March 3rd. That'll be our next big election.
What's the big swing county in Texas this year? These are my favorite questions with Steve.
Looking at like Tarrant County. Tarrant's the one in the news. That's where Fort Worth is.
Yeah, it is.
That one's that one got some attention recently for political nerds would know. Otherwise, I won't even try. So
no, that's all right. Well, he's Steve Kornacki, NBC Sports. Of course, we appreciate him jumping on with us here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. I'll go ahead and play the music and get us out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. At least I will. Tomorrow morning, Kevin Kilroy will join me on Rabaut. I know you've heard Steve on the show before. We'll preview the exact same races, so you get Kevin's opinions from a man who's on the ground there at the fairgrounds. 2:00 tomorrow, of course. Barry Spears right here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour, our Soulcast Saturdays period, and of course 6:00 tomorrow night. Here's my interview with trainer John Ennis. Swept the stakes at Turfway Park last weekend. He's got an interesting one on the Oaks Trail there as well. For Steve Kornacki, I'm Louie Rabaut. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour.